What is up, guys, gals, anything in between and out of the spectrum? My name is Joe Dirt from the Just Roll With It gaming group, and today I've actually got something new for the channel in total. Today we are going to go over Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. I'm going to be splitting this video up into a sort of mini series. Today we are going to look at what the book it contains, as well as the overview itself. In order to keep things condensed, we will be releasing several videos over this to really get into each of the variants. However, with the classes, it will be a longer video, as well as getting and looking at them and just seeing, what's what. Be sure to subscribe, as well as throw a like and comment with some constructive criticism, really. This is our first video at attempt on a new series on the channel, rather than just having our D&D like live stream campaign on the channel as well. But if you guys want to check us out live, will be in the description below, with the link to the Twitch channel, as well as to our sponsor Raise as well. So guys, in order to just streamline this, let's get into it. Today, this is released. I'm super excited about it, to be completely honest. It's going to be the really the first supplementary book since Xanathar's and Mordenkainen's and Volo's, really, to really give us an update to the PHB, as well as giving us some well-needed updates to classes. Ranger, which we all know that Ranger needed it very, very bad. So here you can see that there are character options, customizing your origin, as well as changing your skills and changing your subclasses to make it more smooth and streamlined, as well as you have the artificer, barbarian, bard, and cleric, and all those other things, as well as magical items, magic tattoos, which I'm super excited for. I love adding magic tattoos into campaigns as well as more dungeon master tools and puzzles. I love puzzles. I love giving my players puzzles. However, my players in the campaign that we streams exclusively on our Twitch channel, they don't enjoy puzzles as much as me. However, uh, let's get into the actually. Oops. Let's go back. Let's go into using this book. So this is all based off of, as we know, Tasha's opinion, as well as it's a running theme with Volo's and Mordenkainen's. They are the author of the book, so you have little snippets of information and their outlook, which is always nice. So what we find in chapter 1 is new features, subclasses for the player's handbook. So this is really an update to the player's handbook, which is 6 years old. So this is kind of, you can look at it as the PHB 2.0 supplement kind of thing. So giving us the new classes as well as old classes, something more than what they're currently offering, and bringing in the new subclasses and just making it solely that and not an adventure, which is great. Chapter 2 is patrons, which we'll be going over as well. So the giving the players group patron, or something more specifically like a driving force for them to move forward and do certain things, which is super nice. And I'm excited to look at it and learn a better way to include a force that is not just their own. I know it's not really a patron as in a god patron, but I will be using that specifically uh, for the campaigns that I run, to help them, band together with, a certain person. 3. Sparkle new magical options, including spells, magical spell books, artifacts, magic infused tattoos, available for both player characters and monsters to use. That's cool, because now a lot of people in D&D love tattoos. They love, well, people in real life love tattoos as well, which is great. And being able to use them for the monsters as well is awesome. So it's great for giving the players, even if they're not a spellcaster, giving them the ability to use, a tattoo of like a magic missile or like, like a missile or something like that. And then they can cast, first level magic missile. Always hits. It's still nice. As well as, maybe uh, comprehend languages and a tattoo in a class that doesn't have it, or, a monster that has comprehend languages, like a rat has a tattoo of like, a mouth for whatever reason, and a wizard just wants it to talk to him. Who knows? Just clever ideas and fun things to do. I'm super excited. Chapter 4, it holds DM tools that may incorporate into a campaign, including rules on sidekicks. Definitely sidekicks, especially in our main campaign. We have a lot of sidekicks, so that would be very, very helpful. Who level up with the player and characters in supernatural environments. The chapter ends with a collection of puzzles. Be ready to deploy in any adventure that a DM would like to spice up with some puzzling. Yes, I love puzzles, riddles. They're super fun. So it's great. This I'm excited for this chapter in particular, because of the fact that I do love puzzles. I do love adding them, but always advancing that and making them, finding better ways to implement them is always helpful. Because the players themselves don't like puzzles, but some of their characters are very good, very smart. So it'll help me, perfect adding puzzles to my campaigns because I always do it and I love it. It's all optional. This is important. As someone that is running a first time homebrew on first of every Friday on our Twitch channel, for my friends, it's great. You can use, everything is supplementary. These are just guidelines, these are rules, and that's something to remember. And that is kind of a thing what a lot of people forget is, raw is there for, rules as written are there to guide you and to be able to give you the information that you need. However, it's up to the DM's discretion and how your table is playing, and they're there to smooth things out, which is a huge thing. Some of them like advantage, disadvantage. The DM decides when to give it, but the it being out there is out there. Now it's optional. If the DM doesn't want to do disadvantage or advantage and just only straight rolls, that's up to the DM. It's actually optional. As far as with inspiration, in our main campaign, we really don't get inspiration on our Sunday afternoon campaign. We don't, and maybe in the future we will. Who knows? But that is something where we have other options to gain advantage, disadvantage, re-rolls, and things of that nature. But again, inspiration, that's an optional thing. It's on the character sheet, but doesn't mean you have to use it. Just like for me, I rarely use inspiration unless it's a bard feature and the bard's handing out inspiration. That's a class feature. But for me, I don't tend to use inspiration because, again, a lot of DMs will see it. People will hold on to the inspiration forever or until, the end of the session and then just blow it on something random just to spend it. So those are all of those are optional kinds of things. And whatever options you choose to use, this book relies on the rules in the PHB Monster Manual, Dungeons Master Guide. It can be paired with optional Xanathars and other D&D books. So I like this one, and this is what I was going off. The DM adjudicates the rules, as I mentioned before. The DM is the one that's running the table. They are the person that's the ebb and flow of the game. It's very simple, at the end of the day, the DM may go back to the rules of the PHB or the DM's guide, and he may rule something. And for all the other DMs out there, it's okay to sit there and be like, hey, let's do this rule this one time, and next time we'll come back and do it properly. Every DM's done it. I've done it. Exceptions supersede general rules, and that's this again. That's what I talked about again. So general rules and exceptions. Exceptions are say for instance you're like, oh well, I'm gonna do an acrobatics check to do this, and then I have a spell that lets say long strider, which makes you faster, moves more. Maybe it's some weird situation. DM makes an exception. However, you have to define that it's one time, just one time, to do what you want to do, and it's for that whole session. You know what I mean? And then when you come back, like say if it's a weekly game, you come back the next week and you're just like, okay, we figured out. We went to Sage Advice. We looked at the books, and we found a great answer. And like I said, Sage Advice is great to look at just because they're the creators of the game. It's a lot like let's take for example, going through my main campaign, I love the cantrip Green Flame Blade. Love it, my favorite cantrip. But it says on attack, if you're a class that has two attacks, you only get one attack. At the beginning, we didn't understand that, and for one whole session, I was getting two attacks, but only one of them was Green Flame Blade. But later to be found out, and we spoke about it, we talked about it, and between me and my DM, and we found out yes, there's only one attack, and then if you're using the two weapon fighting, you get your bonus action attack. But that's it. You still get the two attacks instead of three if you're using two weapon fighting. So you get the action attack and then you get the bonus action attack. That's it. You don't get two action attacks. That's what gets a lot of people confused is when you start intermixing spells. Let's say it takes an attack action and it's a melee attack. But those are the kind of exceptions that can happen. But you have to make the exception and then specifically, like it says, it also includes elements, class features, spells, magic items, monster abilities. You have to make it known that it's an exception for that session. Only that session. It's also, we ran into an issue with the Way of the Shadow Monk. It never says that it's only a teleport for you. I was teleporting with people for one session. It was broken. Advantage and disadvantage. Even more than a factor gives you advantage or disadvantage on a roll. You only have it once, and if you have advantage or disadvantage on the same roll, they cancel out each other. So this is a lot of times with you can't get double advantage or double disadvantage. Now, the only exception that I've found to this rule is if you're playing from the Wildmount book from that came out a couple months ago, the Dunamancy Wizard. If you had advantage and they cast Fortune's Favor on you, you essentially get double advantage because it's a lot like a luck point or the lucky class feature or feat. Um, that is the only way you can get double advantage, but it's re-rolling. It's a lot like the Bard's Inspiration in that factor as well. You're getting an extra roll, but it's not advantage or disadvantage. It's supplementary in that way, but there is no you have double disadvantage or anything like that. The only way that it could be harder is if the DM, and I've done this before where it's just like you're super unfamiliar with the subject, say you're trying to figure out a secret codex, you're a scholar of every sort, but it's in a language you don't understand. You can make the DC harder, and I tell it to the players like this is going to be a hard difficulty, and you have disadvantage. Never take the option away from the players and say no, because if they roll that natural 20, you can give them bare information. Just because a lot of times people, DMs especially, are afraid that what if they roll that natural 20? I have to tell them everything. No, you don't. Just because say they have an 8 and an 8 with proficiency in history, so it's 5 plus their +5. Say they have a 20 int, and it's +3 proficiency, and they roll a natural 20, and it's a 28. That's a great roll. You can give them a bit of information, but doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get all of it. Um, Reaction timing. You only get one reaction. That's it per round. I've never run into an issue with this. Going like shield. I want to use shield again. I've never run into that issue. I've never really seen an issue with that. But the only time is when reactions are not very used very often in Spectrum of like you only see it with shield, counter spell, sentinel, and the opportunity attacks in general. But other than that, I mean, not too much. A proficiency bonus. This is just explaining the proficiency bonus. It goes up. Oh, excuse me. It goes up every so many levels. So you start out with 2, 3, and then 4, and then so on and so on. It'll state it on the character sheet itself. Bonus action spells. It's a bonus action, like I said. Uh, just it's just bonus action. You get your regular action, bonus action. Uh, so basic rule right there. It's just a reminder of the bonus action. Bonus action spells aren't coming to my brain place right now, unfortunately, but that is a bonus action. Concentration. This is a huge one. Concentration a lot of times is you require your concentration. You can't and the only rule I see is like with people is you can't cast another concentration spell. So take Hex as a concentration spell. You can't cast Hex and then Invisibility. They'll cancel each other out. However, you can cast Hex and then say if you want to cast Mind Spike, you can still cast Mind Spike because it's not a concentration spell. Or if you want to do like Hadar's Hunger or something, just nothing that has the concentration tag on it. You can still cast spells. A lot of times I see people it's like, well, I'm concentrating on this, so I can't cast a spell. You can cast a spell as long as it's not concentration. So like say if you wanted to do Hex and then for some reason, you have Magic Missile as well. You can cast Magic Missile because it's not a concentration. But Invisibility is a concentration, but unless you use Greater, I mean, it will drop if it's normal Invisibility. Temporary hit points. A lot of people have no issue with temporary hit points, although it confuses a lot of people because temporary hit points aren't cumulative. If you have temporary hit points and receive more of them, you can't add them together unless the game feature says you can. Instead, you decide which hit points to keep. So, say you have uh, a spell that says that gains you temporary hit points. I can't remember False Life. That's the one I was thinking of. So there's a spell. Say you have the spell False Life, and it gives you say a random number. This isn't necessarily true. It gives you 58 temporary hit points, and then say one of your say you guys have a Hero's Feast. You have to, and it gives you 180 or 100. Let's just do even numbers. You can't add the 58 to the 100 and have 158 temporary hit points. That would never happen. That's a lot of temporary hit points. That's almost like another person. Uh, you can't have both of them. So you have to choose the 100 or the 58, and then they replace each other. Uh, and that's how that works. Which it's to keep balance. The only time that gets broken is if you are a druid and at high enough level, you can just, keep, going stone golem. That's not temporary hit points. That's just wild shape. It's better than temporary hit points, but that's the only way to bounce back from that. Other than that, I mean, temporary hit points are temporary hit points. I mean, wild shape is completely different, but as I said, like that's the only way to really add them is if you drop a wild shape as a druid. Uh, that's the only way you're gonna get stacked the essentially wild shape and then get temporary hit points. That's like two pools of temporary hit points, technically speaking. So it's the only technicality I could see. round down. So this is whenever you divide or multiply a number in the game, round down, and you end up with a fraction, even if the fraction is 1/2 or greater. So this is saying like, um, say I do, say it's 15 divided by 2, round down if it's an uneven number. So if you get like 3.5, you round down to 3. Or if it's like 3.75, you round down to 3. And then this is the thing is have fun. Yeah. So this is, you know, one of the things where a lot of people forget is D&D is a fun game. There's different ways to play it, different expectations, different ways to interact with it, and you just gotta have fun. And that's really it. There's nothing else, nothing, no more, no less. It's a game to bring people together. Well, guys, it looks like this is 21 minutes, which is actually perfect. So, the next video, come join me. This we looked over the using this book. This time we'll go into. It's going to be a longer video, but we will go into subclasses and classes and go from there, and then go from DM's tools. The next video will be longer. I'm going to go record that now and then release them as we go. But other than that, guys, gals, anything in between and out of the spectrum, thank you for the most important thing. That is your time. This has been Gerald with the Just Roll with the Gaming Group. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.